create life and vitality and a whole new set of jobs and revenues in this economy. And that's the way we should address any concerns we have with global warming.
Thank you, Mr. Scher. Mr. Walsh.
I know candidates and politicians all always tend to think they're the biggest deal at the party and then the most important folks around. So let me take it off of me. Small business made it clear they didn't want cap and trade. Small business made it clear they didn't want this healthcare reform legislation. Cap and trade was simply an attempt at law which will handcuff our economy because of what the rest of the world tells us about this notion of global warming. It would handcuff our economy. Congresswoman Bean says there wasn't a business in our district that might have met the cap. It's a tax on energy and electricity. It would be the largest tax, if passed, in our history. It's an indirect tax on every business, on every household, on anyone, even in the 8th district, that uses electricity. It would hobble our economy. It would decimate manufacturing in this state and this country. We need to drill. We need to drill offshore. We need to drill on our land. We need to explore nuclear power. We've been quiet on that front for too darn long. We need to look at clean coal. We need to lessen our dependency on foreign oil. But that's got to come from us, from American-made stuff, and not a tax which will handcuff our economy.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Ms. Bean, a rebuttal?
Well, it's a proven model that worked when we did an acid rain program in the 90s, and then there were naysayers who said it was going to tremendously burden industry and tax families, and that proved not to be true. And I think that's when we can work with something that's worked before, that's the way to move forward. What I hear from businesses, particularly in the emerging energy industry, where America is woefully behind, by the way, and in the Recovery Act that, again, my opponent would have opposed, that included $288 billion worth of tax cuts. There's Department of Energy grants that are being taken advantage of by many companies who are unleashing innovation in this area.
Thank you. Mr. Scher will take the next question first, but let me just take a pause here to remind you, if you've got a burning question and you don't have a card, just put your hand up and someone will bring you a card. If you've written a question, hold the card up and someone will come and get it. They're being brought down to our teachers to be brought to the students, and we do have enough time for a fair number of questions yet. Okay, Mr. Scher takes the next question. Students?
Mr. Scher, what is your view on gun control?
I support the rights of responsible gun owners to own as many guns and as many different kinds of guns as they choose. There's a word in there, responsible gun owners. I like to compare guns to automobiles. I also support the right of car enthusiasts to own as many cars and as many kinds of cars as they choose. But they have to be responsible for those cars. We have some system of tracing ownership and accountability, and we have some system of insurance, and we have some system of licensing for the class of the vehicle that you want to own or operate. I can't go out and hop into somebody's semi-tractor trailer and start driving it down the road because I haven't proven that I've taken the instructions and passed the safety tests to do it. I don't think you'd really want to put a semi-automatic in my hands either. Couple of my kids who are in the military, they've been trained, they've been certified, they've got licenses for firearms. So I support the right of responsible gun owners.
Thank you, Mr. Scher. Mr. Walsh.
You know, the neat thing about this election is this is one of those elections where the American people, like a laser beam, are focused on what matters. We're not growing jobs. My government's spending too much money. It feels like I'm losing freedoms every day. That's all I'm asked about. I am solidly pro-gun. I am solidly a pro-Second Amendment candidate. I think it's an embarrassment that Illinois is not a concealed carry state. All the evidence, all the statistics, the statistical analysis in this country shows us that when a state brings in concealed carry, crime goes down and violent crime goes down. I know it works. I can make all the arguments that it works. But you know what? It's in there. It's our Second Amendment. We shouldn't have to prove that it works. We have a right to carry. I dispute with Bill a little bit. I don't want the government deciding who's responsible. I want any law-abiding adult citizen in this country to have the ability to conceal opponent, Ms. Bean, loves to attack me on this issue. I love to talk about this issue. I'm not going to walk away from it. That's not what this election is about.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Ms. Bean.
I fully support Second Amendment rights, but I do wholly disagree with my opponent, Joe Walsh, when he said that the ban on assault weapons is ridiculous. I think it's okay to limit cop-killer bullets. I think we should have common sense protections to keep guns out of the hands of felons, children, and the mentally ill. That's irresponsible policy that does not reflect the values of the 8th District families that I hear from. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Bean. Mr. Scher, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes, I do. I also support the right of concealed carry. However, I don't want any law-abiding citizen to be able to go concealed carry any more than I want any law-abiding citizen to be able to go drive a truck down the road. Okay, I think we need to have proper type of licensing and training. It doesn't have to be by the government. The government can authorize people like the NRA, the Boy Scouts of America, the United States military, law enforcement, and it doesn't have to be the government that does the chain of accountability. Licensed gun dealers could do that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh will take the next question first. Students?
We've seen a substantial amount of stimulus spending by both parties. It has not stopped high unemployment in Illinois. Do you want to recover unspent stimulus money, or are you open to another stimulus?
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
Again, this is one of my political heroes, Ronald Reagan, often was criticized for thinking too simply. This is simple. Pick your poison, pick your side. How do you grow jobs? How do you grow the economy? You either want a very proactive government trying to stimulate the economy, or in general, you want government getting out of the way. By any indicator, the stimulus was an absolute failure. I don't hear anybody saying the summer of recovery anymore. We spent about $226 million of stimulus money in our 8th district. That got us a whopping 170 jobs to the tune of about $1.3 million per job. A number of those jobs were public sector jobs. The stimulus was an absolute failure. It did not get government out of the way. It did not turn on the entrepreneurial engine that the private sector needed. And this is why, again, business is holding back.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Ms. Bean.
Again, the Recovery Act included $288 billion of tax cuts. I was proud to support those tax cuts because they're stimulative. My so-called tax cutting opponent would have opposed it. The reality is I'm not allowed to use visual aids in the form according to the rules, but a picture would tell 1,000 words. We were headed down, losing more jobs month by month, 800,000 jobs per month at its worst point. The next month, we passed the Recovery Act, and we started losing less and less and less jobs per month. There has now been, in 2010, 4 quarters of consecutive growth in GDP. We had gone from when we first did the recovery to the year following from -6, quarter-over-quarter loss, not growth, to +5. That's a 12-point swing in 1 year. And this year, in 2010, we've had 9 consecutive months of private sector job growth, creating 860,000 jobs this year. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of people still hurting and that we don't have more work to do, but the trajectory is moving in the right direction, and I'm glad to have supported it.
Thank you, Ms. Bean. Mr. Scher.
Well, I completely opposed this stimulus package, not on ideological grounds. I think Keynesian economics may have some valid application in the hands of the people in our government are anything but adults. And the biggest substantive problems I have with the stimulus package is that it is unstrategic. It wasn't connected to any integrated thing that would really have leverage and lift our economy with ratios, with just plowed into politically favored things and compromise tax cuts and things like that. But the biggest problem of all that I have with the stimulus package is that we're using your money to do the stimulus. And I'm sick and tired of wave after wave of government taking your money to stimulate our economy. If we're going to do a stimulus, I want to take their money and stimulate it. And if we can't get them to part with their money to stimulate it, we'll have to talk about another way of doing it.